everybody. Welcome to the weekend edition of Proline. NFL Week 3 of the preseason. Only one more week of the scrimmages left after this. And next week, it begins. College football regular season gets underway. It's a fun time of year. Still got the baseball rolling down the home stretch. A good time of year to be a sports fan and a sports bettor, because there's lots of profits to be had out there. Jim Feist is here. I'm Dave Koken. We are glad to have you with us. We're going to look at a couple of the Saturday games on the exhibition slate, try and get you in the right direction on those. But there's one game that, boy, you definitely want to be on this game this weekend. Jim, you got your preseason game of the year with a great guarantee.
Dave, we and I were talking about it earlier. I mean, you've had a remarkable 11-3 or 11-4 run in the preseason. I'm 16-6, so between the two of us, we're like 27-7.
I'm actually 13-4.
27-9. It's been remarkable. And, before the preseason, we were back in the lockout days, we were wondering what the effect would be. And we talked about the teams that were more solidified. But, really, it's been the information, which doesn't always hold up, has really held up this preseason. We find out what's going to happen before the game starts. Not the final score or anything like that, but who's playing, how long they're playing, what the intensity level is. Many seasons that doesn't work out. There's been coaches in the past that would give out this information and then they completely reverse themselves. I mean, Jeff Fisher was one of those guys. He'd say this, and this all week, and you'd think, well, that's what he's going to do. Then he does the absolute opposite when the game starts. Well, this year, the coaches are saying what they're going to do, and they're doing exactly that. We get that kind of information, not information that you really get during the regular season because everybody's out there trying to win. In the preseason, like there's some coaches this weekend, we're more interested in looking at the backup players this week. That's some of the coaches are saying that. Other coaches are saying, we're going to play our starters right through the first three quarters. We want them to come out in the second half. We want to see them go in at halftime, come back out and rev up again because we're only a couple. They're going to put a lot more emphasis in this game than they will in one next week, which they'll rest a lot of players going into the real season. Other guys are looking at their backups. They want to see who they're going to keep. They're not generally the strongest teams, so they're looking at those kind of players. That's how you beat the preseason. And for as many years as you and I have done this, Dave, it's paid off. And I don't remember it ever paying off as well as it has been these last couple of weeks. 16-6, I'm so far in the preseason. I've got my preseason game of the year going on Saturday. This game is guaranteed for the rest of the preseason, and all of September's NFL executive service is free. It's a $29 charge for the game. Game of the year. I'm 16-6. I'm making money. I'm making a lot of money, and you can make a lot of money with games like this. When I come out with a game of the year, they usually win. They usually win pretty big as well. Make a phone call, 1-866-841-1655. For my preseason game of the year for 2011, it's just $29. And remember the guarantee. If I don't win, preseason and all of September, NFL executive service is free on me. 1-866-841-1655.
Preseason's been terrific. I'm actually 13-4. I only had one play on the Thursday slate. It wasn't a blowout on the scoreboard, but it was never in doubt, and that was the under in the Browns-Eagles game. So off to another good start this week. 13-4 overall. Actually, I've won everything I've played the last 3 days, so the baseball's been very good as well. Now, right now, I'm running my early bird college football special, and it runs through this weekend. As of Monday, no more on that. This is basically the same thing I did at the start of the preseason for the NFL. And anybody who jumped in, boy, it's paid off because the exhibition season came free with that. And so those people are obviously way ahead already, and they got their service paid for and they're happy. Don't wait anymore. Don't waste any more time, okay? Do this now. $49. You get every action play I've got in college football for the entire season from next week's openers right through the final bowl game. Also, I'll give you the rest of the preseason, and that'll include my preseason game of the year, which is going to go next week. $49 is the cost. Can't beat that for a full season worth of winners. 1-866-841-1665. 1-866-841-1665. We should also both let you know that you can get our daily free plays on a text message. It's very simple. All you have to do for Jim's free play each day, just text winner, WINNER, to 313131. For my free play each day, just text Kokin, COKIN, to 313131. Within seconds, you get back that day's free play on a text message right on your cell phone. We're in the new age of communication. It's easy. You don't have to pick up the phone. Right? It's a cinch. It doesn't cost anything. So make sure and check it out. And by the way, this stuff's our odds package and stuff like that is now fully compatible with what the hell? I don't have one. I've got the iPhone. What's the Verizon deal? I can't think of it. Well, anyway, it's compatible. The Android. We're compatible with that now too. So all the technology, put it to work for you. Great information, and this stuff's free. Make sure you take advantage of it. All right, let's look at some football games. And before we do that, we were talking about this before we started taping this. Hey, the Colts are a great organization. You can't knock these guys. I mean, they've been the best in terms of getting to the playoffs and things like that. They've had the best record in the NFL over the past decade belongs to the Colts. But, boy, this is kind of a strange deal, and they might have put themselves behind the eight ball by not acting sooner in the quarterback situation. Kerry Collins, they got him out of retirement, but I don't know. You made the point, Jim. They should have been proactive in this and tried to get an emergency quarterback coming out of the lockout, knowing Peyton Manning's neck situation. This may have been a mistake by this team.
Well, I think it was, Dave. I mean, he's 36 years old. Let's face it. The Colts, without Peyton Manning, are probably a 4-12 team. They're not that good. They're not a great running team. They're decent on defense, but not super. It's all Peyton Manning. This is Peyton Manning's team. Now, the guy has a neck injury. The second surgery he's had on the neck. He's 36 years old. That's a tough position. Yes, he doesn't usually get hit much because he's got such a quick release. But you don't know he's coming back okay. You have the lockout. He can't even use the same rehab people because of the lockout. So he's actually locked out of his therapy. Now, there's other people you could have signed. And don't get me wrong, I think Kerry Collins is a great addition. Here's a guy that's passed for over 40,000 yards. And I believe he's second, and I'm not sure about this, but I think he's second only to Manning in yardage. And so I think that's a pretty good addition, even though Reggie Wayne doesn't like it.
No, he doesn't like it.
And I'm not going to hire Reggie Wayne to run or manage any business I'm ever in. Because I don't know where he's coming from with all those remarks. But they're lucky to have him because Curtis Painter and Orlowski, they're not pro quarterbacks. They're backup people, and they may not even be good enough to be backup people. I mean, last week, Painter he couldn't get past his own 29-yard line the entire time he played in the game. I mean, it's ridiculous to think this guy's going to win football games. They have a chance with Kerry Collins. Yes, it's going to be some work for him to learn the system, but he's got a big arm. He's got a lot of experience. I don't know what the Colts were thinking by not getting somebody in there sooner. Who knows what's going to happen to Manning? I mean, this guy, he might come back game 1, game 2, game 4, get one big hit and he's gone. And he may be gone forever. So, I mean, people, 36, you're fragile in the NFL because it's a very rough sport. These guys that hit you are big, they're strong, they're fast, and they can cause a lot of damage. I think they screwed up.
Yeah, and as far as Peyton Manning goes, I consider myself privileged to have been able to watch him in his entire career. But the sad thing is, happens to everybody, I think he's starting to wind down. The first signs of decline started to creep in last year. And he's on the backside. He may not be in the 18th hole yet as far as his career is going, but sure on the 15th or 16th. So, it might be time for the Colts to really start considering what they're going to do at that position down the road. And I have to tell you, I'm very surprised they didn't draft one of the quarterbacks early that are out there. Maybe they didn't think that any of them were worth it, but boy, I think they may regret not perhaps going after Ryan Mallett or Colin Kaepernick or somebody in that realm as a potential a replacement for Manning down the road. This isn't going to last forever. All right, let's look at some football games. New England, jeez, is it really the preseason? Man, oh man, this team. Listen to these numbers. These are just the starters on defense, and this is only 30 minutes, roughly 30 minutes out of 120 in the first 2 weeks. 7 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 11 quarterback hits. They've made a change in the scheme. They played that 3-4 last year. I don't think they really played it very well. Much more attacking 4-3 defense this year. Extremely aggressive. This team has been all business from the opening gun of preseason. They look real good. Lions look pretty good as well. And, I think the Lions are an improved football team. The question that I have with Detroit is how healthy they can stay. Javid Best has already had a concussion. He's probably not going to play in this game. Matthew Stafford, well, he's been a little bit plastic out there in his first 2 years. He hasn't gotten through a full season yet. So Calvin Johnson, I guess, according to Jim Schwartz, he's going to play in this football game, but he hasn't been practicing because of a shoulder problem. Of course, Nick Fairley, their hyped rookie out of Auburn, he has a broken bone in his foot, so he's not playing. Lions have looked good. And they're at home in this game, but boy, this is a different animal they're playing. And New England they look pretty serious, Jim.
Well, like we talked about, yes, you're right. They have looked very serious. The thing about Belichick, he's kind of tricky. He comes out in the first 2 games and he plays these games for the most part like they're regular season games. At any point in time, he could pull off the dogs because he knows what he's got. He knows, he's a smart enough guy, doesn't want to get anybody hurt, but he hasn't really been one of those kind of coaches that protects people. But one of these next 2 games, he's likely not to play full on out. Or he may play full on out the first half and then pull the second half. But he's got some good backups. These guys, Hoyer and Mallett, played pretty well in the first game when Brady wasn't around. Very dangerous team. They're laying 4 on the road. The Lions are playing well enough to take 4, no question. If they come out and they want to put up a battle, they're 10-2 ATS in preseason games against the AFC. They've been very good this year. Both teams are over kind of clubs in preseason. They put up a lot of points. They throw the ball a lot. It should be a very exciting game. A lot of scores. I think you're going to see a lot of scoring in the game. Nobody knows because Belichick never talks about what he's going to do. That's one of the coaches that you just don't get any information on. He just keeps his mouth shut and he just does his job. And arguably the best coach in football because of his record, and it's amazing. The Lions have a lot more to prove. They would like to knock off the Patriots, but then you could say that about the Tampa Bay Bucks last week, and they got annihilated by this team. In the first week, New England played the Jags, and it was terrible. They crushed them. So it's hard to know what they're going to do. I do like the over. I'd probably take the dog. If I get some information, I will be on the dog. But right now, I'm on the sidelines with that. But I definitely like the over.
Yeah, I think that's the way I'm going to look as well. Detroit's. You've got 2 very good quarterback rotations. Obviously, Brady is, he's right there. He's probably the best in the game right now. But Hoyer looks good. Second-year kid. And Mallett, we know about Mallett's arm. The question's about him, can he grasp an NFL offense and can he keep his nose clean? But so far, so good, for sure. And I think that, New England just looks like they're going to be really good on both sides of the ball, but particularly on offense. I think Brady will be out there for quite a bit in this game. Again, Belichick really doesn't let you know. But the one tendency is that he has shown is that the last week of the preseason, is when he doesn't play Brady at all and sits a lot of the regulars. So I think Brady's going to get a full half here. Detroit, I'll tell you what, they've got a good quarterback rotation as well. Stafford's talented. Question on him is whether he can stay healthy. Sean Hill is a really solid backup quarterback. Hey,
He is.
he's a good number 2. Drew Stanton, I never thought he'd be any good, but you know what? For a guy who's going to hold the clipboard all season, he's not bad. In other words, emergency quarterback, and Zach Robinson's got a little talent as well. So you got guys who can move the football out there, and I think you'll see some offense in this game. I'm going to side with the over as well, although I'm a little worried about some of the people that are out on the Detroit side. But I think the tendencies are there. Those coaches like to come out with some positive results, and you can do that when you get the ball in the end zone. We have a rivalry game to talk about. These teams meet every year, and it's Miami at Tampa this year. The Dolphins dogs in this game. Bucks are favored by about 4, I guess 36 the total roughly, and at least that's what I'm seeing on this sheet.
I'm kind of surprised the line's a little bit big on this game, Dave, don't you think?
Well, knowing Miami's tendencies, it is, but
2.5.
Here's the thing. This is one of those games where I think there's some information, because when I first saw the number, it's like, well, I'm going to take Miami. Because, they are one of those teams that likes to win preseason games. Sperano, he does try to win these games. Apparently he thinks it's important to his team. Whether it is or not, that's up to each coach individually. Some coaches like to win them, some coaches don't care at all. And there's no real determination as to whether it actually does mean anything. So we know Sperano likes to win the games. But it sounds like Raheem Morris was not real happy with what happened last week against New England, because here's the information. They were supposed to have Sunday and Tuesday off. Those scheduled days off for Tampa. Instead, they got practice and weight training. They got overrun by New England last weekend, and it sounds like Morris apparently wasn't pleased about it, because he brought the players back in on 2 scheduled days off for practice and the weight room. That's no fun when those guys probably expected to be out on the golf course or fishing or something on those days, or just sleeping. Instead, they were working. That, to me, is usually an indication that you're going to see a little more determination on the field. I got to tell you, it's something that for me, it's either Tampa or nobody. I still don't know if I want to lay the number, because I know Miami's probably going to try and win the game like they always do. So that's a little bit worrisome. But I don't like going against teams where a punishment has been handed down, and clearly this was a punishment. That, to me, is very dangerous to go against teams like that in the preseason. If anything, actually might make me look at the under, because it was the defense especially that got destroyed last week in that game by New England. And I don't like the Miami offense very much, period. So I have a 36 manageable total. I think I might be looking at the under in this one, Jim.
Your points are well taken, Dave. And I understand that Tampa Bay was embarrassed last week. Miami, coming off a win, they're pretty good as a dog. I think 6-0 ATS under Sperano. Sperano has a little bit of a problem also. He's on the hot seat. He starts the season on the hot seat. He knows that if he doesn't produce this year, he's gone. No question about it. And he's going to have to open up his offense this year. He's going to have to take the handcuffs off his quarterbacks and let them spread the field. They've changed their running backs. Brown and Williams are gone. They got Reggie Bush, and they just added Larry Johnson because they're not real happy about their running backs, which if you're going to depend on Reggie Bush to be your running back, that's a big mistake. He's just not that type of player. Johnson, if he can stay out of trouble and he can physically fit, he can add a lot because he's a hell of a player. He's at the back end of his career, but he's still there. Tampa Bay, they canceled a couple days off, but I'll tell you this. These guys at this time of year in Florida, a lot of heat. They're working hard. They didn't have the off-season training programs that they usually have. You get tired legs, you get tired muscles, you wear out. And even though he worked them and then because he was embarrassed and upset and he made them work, that doesn't mean you're going to come to the game on Sunday with a lot of juice and fire. The piss and vinegar might be worked out of you on the practice field. You know, as a guy that's an expert on boxing, what it means to overtrain. Okay, and that pacing these guys training coming out of months and months and months of doing nothing except what they did on their own. Miami's not going to come in there and lay down because Tampa's pissed and they worked out extra. We're just not going to play. They want to win. They want to win. Sperano wants to win. He's proved it. In the preseason, he likes winning. Where Morris straight up is 4-6 in preseason games. This guy's 6-1 on the road, 6-0 as a dog, and he knows he's under the gun. He's on his ass is on fire. Where Raheem Morris is not. He comes off that 10-win season. Their key to this season is not winning this game. It's getting back to that 10 wins they had in the regular season. Miami is just trying to crawl out of a hole to survive. I can't justify this line. I think the line should be 1.5, 2. I think it's overpriced. We all know who had the better record last year. I'll stick with Miami.
By the way, the last 4 games between these teams, the scores have been 10-6, 11-10, 10-7, and there was a 17-6 in there. Miami's won 3 of those games. That doesn't hurt the under at all. I know that, and you know, basically, Sperano's been involved down there in all those games. He was an assistant and a head coach. Might have 5 straight unders in the series. I think you're going to see some intensity in this game. It is a rivalry type of game, even in the preseason. You're definitely right on the Sperano side. He's going to play hard. And I think you're going to get effort out of Tampa. So I like the under in the game. So there you go. You got a side in the total from us. Jim thinks the Dolphins are a good value at that price. I don't disagree with that. And I like the under in that football game. Some good stuff out there.
Dave, we've gone through a couple games. We saw a few teams play their third game already. Any surprises? Anybody you think is going to be better than what was anticipated 3 weeks ago, or worse than we anticipated 3 weeks ago? I mean, obviously the Colts are going to be a lot worse if Manning doesn't come back. I mean, that's going to be a very different division. That team's going to get a lot less wins, no matter who's a quarterback other than Manning.
Well, I mean, I think it's more on injuries than anything else, but I think the Giants are in trouble.
Yeah.
Deep trouble. That secondary is a disaster, and I'm not even sure how strong they're going to be up front. I got to tell you something. They're going to be involved in some really high-scoring games this year. They could be the team that's, you know, there's one team every year that week after week they can't get the total right of the team because they go into the 50s no matter what. And you don't see totals in the 50s in the NFL. I think it might be the Giants. This team is going to have to. I understand they'll probably try and ball control on offense, which means, by the way, from a fantasy standpoint, you might want to take a hard look at Ahmad Bradshaw to be a good value play. He's going to get the ball a lot, but I think the Giants are going to have to outscore their opponents this year. And I don't think that's the type of game I don't think that's their strength. So I believe that's a team that could go backwards this year, especially since in the same division, second year with Mike Shanahan, and I think he's weeded out a lot of the guys who weren't Shanahan guys, and I think struggled with them last year. Those guys are all gone now. He's got his guys on the field. I don't think the Redskins are a good football team, but I think they're going to be better than they were last year. Look, maybe he misused Donovan McNabb. I'm not going to put the blame on anybody there, but the bottom line is I think they're going to be better at quarterback. I think not having Hainsworth in camp with the team is a huge distraction that he was last year is a plus. I think the Redskins are going to go up. The Giants are going to go down in that division. If Philadelphia and Dallas are the two better teams, but you're going to have to pay the price every week in numbers with Philadelphia and Dallas. They're both very public teams, and the perception is they're both very good. The Giants might be overrated by the public coming in. The Redskins might be underrated by the public coming in. So just looking at that one division, I think there's some opportunity there. I'll tell you one other team that I do not like. I don't think Jacksonville's going to be good at all. In fact, I think they could be really awful. Look, their defense stinks. Okay, it was awful last year, and it's been preseason or not, it has been terrible in the first 2 weeks. I think Jacksonville could be one of the worst. We know who some of the worst teams are. Beyond any, Carolina, teams like that. Everybody knows they suck. But of teams that are, in the middle of the pack, I think Jacksonville's got a chance to go backwards as much as anybody this year. I think Del Rio will be fired maybe before the end of the season. And I think the Jaguars could be just a lousy team this year, Jim, and a team that can make money going against early.
If they're overrated, you definitely will look for opportunities like that. I mean, you got Oakland looks really sad. Cincinnati is I can't see them having a good year. Buffalo looks very weak. Cleveland might be on the upside a little bit. I don't think they're going to be Super Bowl bound, but I think they're going to on the upswing slightly. Kansas City is better than they show in the preseason. They don't try in the preseason, so you can't get too down on them. If you go out west in the NFC, I mean, I think Seattle's going to be pretty bad. I don't think they have leadership. I think Pete Carroll is more of a college coach than a pro coach. I think some of his choices at quarterback are pretty sad. Tavares Jackson doesn't look like he can. I don't see him leading a team in the NFL, but I think they were very fortunate to get in the playoffs last year with a 7-9 record. Arizona, I mean, you got to give them some credit for getting the quarterback. They have a better quarterback situation, but they have holes elsewhere. St. Louis looks like a pretty solid team. San Francisco is a mystery with Alex Smith. I just don't know. I mean, 7-8 years now he's been around. He just doesn't produce. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the quarterback. Kaepernick is probably better. He has to still prove it, but he has a bigger arm.
I got to tell you,
he definitely can move about on his feet. I don't see Alex Smith doing anything out there. I just don't see it happening.
I don't think it matters. I think he could bring back Joe Montana, and he couldn't play with that offensive line. Their offensive line is horrendous. You're right. If you don't have an offensive line, you can have the greatest quarterback in the world. You can't do anything. They might be in the Oliver Luck sweepstakes. But you know what? The flip side of that is I think Harbaugh is going to be way better than Singletary was. So maybe they'll improve just on that. Singletary, look, great player, fiery leader, but I think he could coach. Well, not as a head coach. He might have been a good assistant, but he was no head coach. They might show some improvement there.
He made some strange decisions. Oh, no question. What about this? Do you see this Chris Johnson thing settling, or him? He's still not in camp.
I don't blame him. They got to give him the money. We've seen. Look, he's one of the 2 or 3 best running backs in football. You got to pay him as such, and you got to pay him now. These guys aren't dumb. Running backs have a short shelf life in the NFL. He's not making anywhere near what he should be making based on market value right now. Got to pay him. And he's got him by the stones. He has absolutely got him by the jewels, because if he's not on the field, they have no chance to compete. No chance. They're a really bad football team without him. And just pay the guy. It's only fair. I mean, other contracts have been negotiated around the league where top guys in their position are getting the money they're supposed to get. Now, I'm not saying you got to pay him $15 million a year, which is what he's asking for. But I think he can probably settle on a compromise about $12 million, somewhere in that range. Get it done. Just wrap it up. I guarantee it, he's not coming to camp if they don't budge on what they're offering. He's not going to do it. I think, what is he, $6 million or something like that right now? And I know it's easy to sit here and say, well, that's a lot of money. It's actually, he's woefully underpaid based on the market value of that position in the National Football League and his standing at that position. It's just like, see, I know it's easy to sit here and say, well, boy, I wouldn't turn that money down. Yeah, if you are, I don't care what job you've got. If you're one of the absolute best people at your job in the entire industry, you're not going to like it. If somebody, or for a lot of people who aren't as good as you and have not produced the results you produced, are making more than you are, you're going to put up a stink about it. It's all based on market value. So, it's all monopoly money anyway from where we're sitting. So put that out of your mind when you judge these guys. And the thing about, he signed a contract. Maybe so, but I guarantee you put yourself in that position where you may have a signed contract, but you find out that a lot of guys who are not as good as you have now got contracts that are better than yours. You're going to put up a big stink about it and say, wait a minute, if you want me to go out there and produce like I'm capable of producing, you have to pay me what I'm worth based on market value. This is where I have a big argument with people saying, well, you signed a contract. Put yourself in their spot is all I can say. You would do the same exact thing.
Dave, let me ask you a question.
You got to pay him.
Let me ask you a question, Dave. You know a lot about this. If he has 5-year contracts, let's say $3 million a year, and he gets hurt in the first year, do they pay him the other years? Not unless it's guaranteed money, right?
No,
so the contract is meaningless. So when they have a contract of, let's say, $80 million, and then they say, well, $45 million of it's guaranteed. That's what you're going to get.
Right.
No matter what. But if you get hurt, you get 40, you don't get 80, you get 45. So when somebody signs a contract, they're not getting all that money unless they can stay on the field and perform. So it's kind of crazy for him to not want a big contract with a lot of guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Now, I don't follow baseball. I have a staff here that does baseball for me. But there was a fellow in baseball, a pitcher, played for the Angels recently, last couple of weeks. What was his name? Weaver?
Right.
Oh, he signed with the Angels, could have gotten a lot more money on the open market, maybe even double what he got. From what I understand, he signed for $85 million, but comparatively, CC Sabathia got like double that. So if he stayed open market, he could have gotten that because he's really good. But he says, how much can you spend? So that's kind of a rare, most guys don't do that, but he did that.
Yeah, he gave the Angels a big hometown discount. He wants to stay there. I can guarantee you there are a lot of players around Major League Baseball right now who are not happy with Jared Weaver because, they don't like it when you do that, but you got to make yourself happy. The football side, though, it's different. They don't have nearly the contract structure they have in baseball. Weaver's going to get his money whether his arm falls off or not. In the NFL,
because when they sign the contract, it's all guaranteed?
Pretty much.
Okay.
The football side of it, if you get hurt, even though you get hurt on the job, injured reserve, you only get 50% of your money for that season. So they really don't have the NFL union is not nearly as strong as the Major League Baseball Players Union, and so players have to look out for themselves a little more in the NFL. I want to remind everybody, by the way, our full panel shows will be back again this season. You'll be able to watch those on ProLineTV.com. Our first one will be taping the week of the first NFL regular season game. So, back to standard 3 or 4 games we'll be looking at each week. Bigger and better than ever. Back again with Proline. So make sure and mark that down for your regular viewing. Before we close things out again, we want to remind people about what we've got this weekend and beyond. I've got my early bird special for college football. $49. Every action play I've got for the entire season. That includes the bowl games. It includes my college football game of the year as well. Plus, you get the rest of the preseason. And it's 2 weeks left of the NFL preseason, and I'm 13-4 right now. $49. It's a great deal. Make sure and call now, 1-866-841-1665. And for my daily free play, just text COKIN, COKIN, to 313131. You get the free play back on a text message on your cell phone within seconds. Jim, you got the big one this weekend, a huge, guaranteed preseason game of the year winner.
Well, Dave, it's been a party so far. 16-6 in preseason games. I get on these games personally pretty well, so I'm pretty far ahead at this point. And if you guys out there haven't joined me yet, I'm sorry you missed that, but we can still finish out in the next 2 weeks real strong. And of course, we got the entire college and pro season ahead of us. This week, tomorrow, Saturday, I have my preseason game of the year, $29. I'm going to win this game, and if I don't win it, the guarantee is you get the rest of the preseason plus September's NFL executive service free, all free. My executive service, NFL plays, preseason and all in September for free. Just call 1-866-841-1655. This is a big game. I like the information on this game. I'm down heavily on it, and I want you to be down heavily on it as well. So make the call, 1-866-841-1655. My preseason game of the year, which will win, goes on Saturday.
And don't forget, for Jim's free play each day, simple enough. Just text winner, WINNER, to 313131. That's it. We're done. Monday, Jeff Saddle returned with myself. We're going to preview another of the college football conferences as we, and next week the games start for real in college football. So you want to make sure and check back on Monday to watch the next edition of Proline. We're done for this weekend. Get some winners, everybody. For Jim Feist, I'm Dave Kogan. Thanks for watching. Talk to you on Monday.